You can work with your body and you can work with nature to really tune into what feels right for you, and to work with it rather than, I guess, coming back to that whole idea of like the rules, following the rules versus following what feels really good for you. Be led from within. What do you actually want? And it can sound like such a simple question, right? But often the answers are really hard. Like it does require having to stop, get out of your head and to connect with your body and your heart. And instead of answering that I know what I should do and I know what, success looks like, connect to your truth of, what a really soulful and fulfilling and meaningful life looks like for you. That's a really hard question for a lot of coaches, creatives, consultants, like online entrepreneurs.
Welcome to the Wildflow podcast with me, Charlotte Puanto, certified cycle and feminine embodiment coach and shamanic womb guide. In this podcast, I'll share my wisdom and conversations with powerful change makers, thought leaders, and embodied teachers to invite you to live cyclically in flow with your menstrual cycle instead of fearing it, to heal menstrual shame and normalize womb wisdom and period positivity, and to step into your sovereign magnetic power to create and embody the change you desire to see in your world. Settle in to unleash your wild flow. Emma Campbell is an ICF certified coach, qualified in psychology and business, a passionate optimist, and has over a decade's experience helping visionary leaders and teams unlock their spark. Emma knows that a business can only rise to the level of its leaders. That's why she loves partnering with CEOs, team leaders, and entrepreneurs to unlock their highest potential, knowing the ripple effect this has on their team's growth and business success. She's also the CEO of her six-figure purpose-led coaching business, host of the Sparked podcast, creator of Find Your Spark program, and lead coach for the Spark Mastermind for visionary leaders on a mission to make big waves in this world. Emma is also mum to 2 kids under 4, wifey to her scuba dive instructor that she met 14 years ago, and a camping-obsessed, nature-loving, and personal development junkie. Emma and I were partnered up in a mastermind about over a year ago anyway, and we quickly bonded over the point of life we were both in, both of us growing our own business that was really based on our own stories, our own transformation, what we both really knew had worked for us. And we wanted to be able to share this for other people, but also to create this life that we were really able to be ourselves in, to have that freedom and that ability to be present at home as well as with ourselves and do something that really mattered. And as we were in this mastermind, we were finding ourselves, both of us short on time, both of us tired from raising small children, both of us struggling to feel like we could keep up with this kind of go environment that we find ourselves in. And through sharing, we both came to a place of seeing in each other the need to give ourselves permission to just be where we were at and to embrace the season of life we were at, the season of motherhood we were at. And the more I began to share with Emma about cycle awareness, the more it helped her in her journey, and the more I became more and more sure and clear that cycle awareness is just so important, not just for our health or spiritual practice, but for how we work and show up in the world as well, how we create, how we lead. And today in this conversation, Emma and I are chatting about what it was that really piqued her curiosity about cycle awareness at a point when she was postpartum breastfeeding and had no menstrual cycle, what it taught her about herself and how she wanted to start being in the world instead, and also how she has now been at a point of implementing cycle awareness in her own business, her beautiful epic business and the awesome work she does, but now how she shares it as well with the teams in corporate that she supports and works with and coaches, and the transformation that it's having there. I absolutely love this conversation. If you're somebody who works in corporate or goes to a place of employment, you'll definitely want to listen to this. If you're a leader in any way, then absolutely this is for you. And also, if you run your own business, then tune in. If you are a new mother, this is for you. If you are just somebody who really wants to learn more about what it's like to implement cycle awareness, like in the everyday, in real life, not just what it's like to learn it on paper, but to really put it into practice, this is for you. I absolutely love this conversation, and I'm really excited to be able to share this conversation and Emma with you. Happy listening. Hey Emma, welcome to Wild Flow. How are you going today?
Hello, I'm so good. So good. So excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be so beautiful to, we've become really good friends over the last year as buddies, accountability buddies, like listening buddies in a mastermind. And we've got to really bond and connect and share our personal experiences and our business experiences and just life and all kinds of things. And it's so nice to be able to share you with everybody, because I just love your energy. You've just got such a beautiful, warm, bubbly, just real as well nature, and I think you're amazing. So this is going to be cool because also you're somebody who has discovered cycle awareness in that last year or so, but you have really run with it. You have really, really run with it, and you have applied it into real life in lots of different ways. And that is what I think is going to be really cool to chat about and share on what it looks like in real life for you as a woman, a mother, a business owner, a coach, all of these different aspects, and dive in.
Amazing. 100%. I can't wait. And I was just laughing as you were introducing us of getting to know each other for the first time as accountability buddies, because we definitely did not hold each other accountable.
No, but do you know what we did do? Sorry, what were you saying?
It was more listening buddies. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was accountability, not from always doing the things, but really, having that space to share and be how we were and be truthful in that and support each other in that and accountable in that way was really cool.
Beautiful. 100%. 100%. And I do feel like we were brought together for a reason, because, and I might just jump into a little bit about how we first met, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Because when I first met you and when I first started the mastermind, I had my second little babe, Hazel, and at the time she was 5 months old. So I remember our first conversations were all about cycle awareness. It was about breastfeeding. It was about being in the depths of my real feminine flow and lots of emotion, lots of feels, lots of intuition, lots of that beautiful motherly energy. And then also trying to be in a mastermind and achieve goals and get things done. And, often that more masculine, go, get shit done, hustle mode that you feel like you need to have in order to have a business grow and succeed. And, sometimes at certain stages in business, when you're right at the start, a little bit of that energy can be really, really helpful. But I remember, both of us coming together and just sharing the difficulties of bringing these two parts of me together, that real feminine, intuitive, flowy side and that more masculine side that I have to say I feel like I've relied upon for a lot of my life. It was the only side that I really knew coming out of corporate and being surrounded by a lot of, organizations that were really built around structure, process, KPIs, productivity, efficiency, and having lots of managers and bosses that were males and really run by their masculine energy. And, you know, I remember my first ever job was right in the heart of a very, very masculine environment workplace, like being in the HR world and learning how to, I guess, release some of that conditioning, that programming, and to be able to embody a little bit more of the feminine flow and the ease that comes with cycle awareness and all of that sort of side. You know, it's been absolutely life-changing. And that's why I feel like you were definitely brought into my world for a reason.
Amazing.
And so needed and so appreciated. And yeah, it's just been an absolute joy getting to know you more and working together and all the things.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's so important. Like what you're saying is, you know, the world around us, especially that corporate world. And, you know, I just have this real feeling as you were talking that, you know, so many of us do go out into the world and we want to fit in, we want to belong, we want to find our way, we want to succeed. And so we mold ourselves into the world around us. And the world around us is built like in that masculine way. And as you were talking, like the word efficiency just kept going through my head. And then you said efficiency and I'm like, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about like, you know, maximum output, like minimum like human input, and you know the cost it's not about nourishing well-being, it's about like, you know, just getting extraction and growth. And you know, it really, really harms us. And I feel like for a lot of people, women, when you get to motherhood, that doesn't work anymore. You know, in that maiden phase of life, it's like you're trying to find your way in the world. You're trying to, like I was saying, fit in, and, you know, it's about kind of looking outwards. And then motherhood is this point where everything stops. You can't be productive. You can't be efficient.
There's no control.
You're knackered. There's no control. Like, I just, you know, if anyone's listening who lives in somewhere like the States where, you know, commonly you have to go back to work a couple of weeks after giving birth, like my heart just goes out to you all. I just don't know how you balance those two things. And so, you know, what I loved about when we started chatting was I'd got 3 kids, and, you know, how old would Freya have been? She'd have been like a year and a half or something. And I was like in this phase of, okay, she's not like super newborn anymore. I want to think about, you know, taking my work seriously and like actually running it like a proper business and having something for myself. And then I got partnered with you. And like you say, you had got, you know, a toddler, I think he's a toddler, and a 5-month-old, and you just got it. And it was like, oh my God, she gets it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I see a lot of people being, you know, like in this phase of life the reason people often have a business is they don't have to go back to work. You don't have to go back to that. Yeah. But then we've internalized it so much that we just bring it over into the way that we're doing life, even though actually it's up to us how we do it. And we're just doing it to ourselves.
Yeah. And that we are the creators at the heart of it. But sometimes you can only create what you've seen.
Yeah.
And it's funny how motherhood is often that time that everything falls apart and that all the old conditioning is broken. And it's this beautiful like spark of an awakening of being able to try something new. And like, gosh, the amount of mums that I know that it's during that time that they're at home, that they've had like a little bit of a break in, I guess, what their standard day-to-day default looks like. And sometimes that's enough. It's like that moment of your usual default patterns being broken, that it gives you enough space and clarity to recognize what it is that you actually truly want, and to be able to create from that place rather than from a place of, you know, what you've seen in the past. And it's amazing how I feel like, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure I've heard quite a few mums speak from this place as well, is, you know, even just the process of birth in itself, right? Of recognizing the power of the feminine, of like really, truly appreciating just how powerful and amazing women are, and what they can do, and what they can create, and like the power of the body. And I feel like it's during that moment that we really recognize our creation abilities, of having that moment to do something different and do something new, and create from a place of heart and energy and emotion, and what like intuitively feels good, rather than just following the rules of what, you know, society or your parents or school or the workplace has told us to do before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a great point. It's that circuit breaker of like, you know, you're not at work. You know, normally I'd be at work. Normally I'd be in a meeting right now. Normally I'd be doing this, and you're not, you're at home. And it's that, you know, finding that, like you say, the potential opening of things being different, and not necessarily having to go back to the way things were. But, you know, even further down the line, if you do something for yourself, whatever that is, or even if you are working in employment, you know, of wanting to hold on to a sense of space for yourself, like knowing that you are not just a worker, you are a mum, you're, you know, a human being with your own needs. You know, you kind of can't go back, even if you do try to go back. So it's like, well, you know, what could there be? What else could there be? So just at this point, I want to ask, because I normally start with a cycle check-in.
Yeah.
Before we go on, just to frame the conversation. Just, I'd love to hear from you where you're at in your cycle, and I'll share first. So I'm day 12, and I'm feeling like I'm bursting into my inner summer. I'm feeling really high energy. I'm feeling, I've not had a coffee today, and I'm like doing pretty well considering, only because the coffee machine's not working. I'm feeling quite chatty, much less intuitive today, like that inner sense of knowing and slowness isn't there. It feels like my mouth's got a motor behind it, and you can probably hear that in the way I'm talking, and I'm really aware of it, so I'm trying to really pull myself back to be really present. I'm starting to feel like some little twitching going on down in my womb, and I just feel excited.
Oh my
How about
gosh.
you? Where are you at?
Oh my gosh, I just love that level of awareness that you have. That is like such an inspiration and so amazing. So I'm on day 4. So I am not where you are. And may I say that you are just glowing today. Like you are so radiant. You're like a radiant angel. Just, I'm gonna need to soak up some of that energy. No, I'm day 4. So I have just finished menstruating, and I would say I'm definitely not in my chatty flow. I don't know if you can even tell by how I'm sharing today. I'm not as eloquent as, I don't know, I guess the middle of my cycle I would feel. And my energy is a little bit lower. I'm feeling a little bit heavier today, like a little bit I guess a little bit more introverted is probably the feeling there. And but overall I feel good. Like I definitely feel very, very connected. Like I just did a meditation just before this podcast, and it's one of my favorite ones. It's basically just a gratitude and appreciation meditation. And it's one of my faves because it just reconnects you back to all the things that you love in your life. And it's pretty common for me to finish a meditation just in tears at like the beauty of life, and just really appreciating every gorgeous part of this like world existence that we live in, like my beautiful little humans, Hazel and Oscar, who are, gosh, Hazel's almost 2 and Oscar's almost 4, and the beautiful world that we live in, and nature and play and work and podcast interviews and all of the things. And so I feel like, just to reflect back, the difference perhaps as to where you are right now compared to where I am. Yeah, I'm feeling really, really connected, like emotionally and intuitive and all of those things.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I think the way that you said, how connected you feel and that gratitude for all of these really special things. I'm like, yeah, I'm not there. I'm just not in that today.
You're still flying.
Yeah, I'm feeling quite high. And I think it's so cool that we can have that awareness, because, I can pull myself back to be more respectful, I guess, of your energy. And I don't want to pull you out of your energy, because that's such a beautiful energy to be in and a presence. And it can feel, when you get pulled out of it, you can feel quite strung and drained. So I just think it's really cool to get that comparison, that contrast, and to have that frame this conversation. So, yeah, and I love the awareness that you have developed as well. So let's go to that point then. So we were connecting, we were like, oh my gosh, we're in this mastermind, like the focus is very much about growth and action and getting the best out of this experience, like that we have invested in as well, and having these goals, but at the same time, like juggling very small children, juggling fatigue, juggling breastfeeding, juggling just wanting to be present in ourselves and at home, and like finding that other way of doing things. So when I told you what I do, I'd love to just know, what was it that drew you in and made you think like, oh, there might be something in this for me? What were you looking for?
Question. Such a good question. I feel like, if I'm really honest, it was probably a little bit more of the moon cycle tracking that was initially really interesting to me, particularly given I didn't have a cycle because I was deep in breastfeeding, and feeling all the feels and going through all the things. And I feel like there was a real call about wanting to learn a little bit more about the moon and wanting to connect to something bigger than me, because it's something that I heard about a lot and I hear a lot of coaches talk about a lot, but I guess I hadn't really yet come to understand the heart of what it all really meant and how it works, and how that could apply to my life and how it could help me. And then, if I'm really honest, the other part that really called out to me is just your beautiful energy. Like, you have got this just gorgeous, soft, feminine, flowy, loving, non-judgmental, generous, like Earth Mother energy. And I feel like my natural default, growing up in a family of I've got 2 older brothers and they're 10 years older than me. And as I was growing up as a kid, they were just my absolute heroes. Like, they were my everything, and I wanted to do everything that they wanted to do. Like, I even have a really a really like clear image of being a kid and my 2 older brothers like working on the car, like, fixing the car with their spanners and their screwdrivers out or whatever they were doing, shirts off, covered in oil. And all my mum wanted from me was to wear a little dress and be a little girl. And as soon as I could possibly speak, I said no to wearing a dress. And all I wanted to do was wear shorts and no shirt like my brothers, and and follow them around with a spanner and pretend to fix the wheels while they were playing on the car. So, like, they were just my everything. Like, I really looked up to all that they did. I thought that they were my world. And so I think I grew up with, you know, a real feeling that like your masculine is the right energy, that if you want to be strong and if you want to be successful, if you want to be cool, if you want to achieve and all of the different things, that you need to bring that sense of like, yeah, masculine achieving energy. And so I feel like that's definitely been my default for a lot of my life. And I think that there was something in me when I first met you that was just like, oh my gosh, give me some of this beautiful feminine flow. Like, let me soak up some of that. And yeah, I think that's where it all came from and where it all went.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so like, soak
it up.
Yeah, it feels so special to be seen that way. Thank you. That's really kind. And I really get what you're saying about, excuse me, when I remember you asking about the moon and you're like, you know, what's this thing and how does it work? And, you know, I don't have a menstrual cycle at the minute and how does that relate and how can I work with it? And, you know, you're going on this journey of really connecting in with that cycle and that feminine energy that you were, you know, really looking for. And what was it that you learned out of that? What did you get from it?
Oh my gosh, so much. So first of all, I mean, right at that stage, I didn't have a menstrual cycle. So I was really like following the moon. And there was something just so beautiful about just the feeling of being connected to something bigger than you, like something that's so powerful. And I remember someone saying that, you know, I think this is when I was in my real stage of not really trusting or knowing the power of the moon and how it can impact us, and thinking, oh, that moon stuff, that's just a bit woo-woo or whatever. And I had a client or a coach or something like that talk to me about, yeah, well, if you think about the waves and how like the whole tidal system of the world is impacted by what the moon's doing, and think about how much water we have inside us. Like, I think we're at least like 70% water or something like that. And it was just in that moment that I was like, oh yeah, we are so connected. Like, we are so part of everything. And I think that in itself was like a really, really beautiful moment of, you know, at a stage of life, like when we first met, it was probably one of the hardest. Sorry, I've got a bit of a croaky throat today. Probably one of the hardest stages of my life, like after just having my second little babe, you know, running a business. We just moved into a new house after going through lots of like building and renovations of building a new house, some financial stuff. And I remember it was, yeah, one of the most challenging periods of my life. And I feel like, you know, there was a part of me that really wanted to feel a connection to, you know, Mother Earth. And to something bigger than me, and to feel like I wasn't alone and that I was supported by something greater. Yeah. And I think that in itself, of just being able to see that there is this incredible like force of nature that is revolving around our universe, that's creating, you know, different states for us, and really recognizing, I think the biggest piece, you know, once I started to get my menstrual cycle back, was recognizing, you know, that those different cycles allow for the different parts of us to come through and be celebrated at different points in our life and cycle. So coming from, I guess, a background and a childhood where I felt like the only side of me that was okay was that masculine productivity achieving side, that in itself, to recognize that, you know, when you're in that more like autumn or that winter stage to your cycle, or kind of where I am right now, like the menstrual piece, or even, you know, the new moon piece, you know, that they're stages in your cycle that you have full permission just to be, and just to flow and just to receive and to go slow and to allow yourself to feel and to allow yourself to go and have a cry if you feel like having one, and to do that extra meditation and to watch that extra Netflix show, and to sleep in if you can, if the kids aren't banging you on the head. And to just like be really, really easy on yourself and super, super kind on yourself during those more, I guess, you'd call them the yin, I guess, stages of the different, nature cycles that are playing out in our lives. And then, the other side of the coin is full permission to bloody go guns and blazing on the other side of your cycle when it is ovulation or when it is full moon, when you are in those parts of your cycle that, the summer stages, that you want to go out and work 12 hours. If you want to, go and do it, and don't feel guilty about it and think that you need to be following a perfect structure and schedule and hourly, time schedule every single day. That it can flow and it can change, and you can work with your body and you can work with nature to really tune into what feels right for you, and to work with it rather than, I guess, coming back to that whole idea of like the rules, following the rules versus following what feels really good for you. Yeah, like letting yourself be led from within, and Mama Nature.
I'm just like, okay, my job is done.
Amazing.
Thank you for sharing that, because sometimes I feel like I'm, explaining things and like, is it making sense? People kind of understand what I'm trying to say. And then hearing you just sharing all of that, it's like, it is powerful. It's, it's something that really can help everybody. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're at, or, what kind of background you've had, or, whatever. Like it's that permission to, like you say, to just be with yourself, like be where you're at and do what feels good for you, rather than following those rules of like, this is how we do things around here. And even when you're like, this isn't actually working for me.
Yeah.
And I love how you started off with the moon, and really, I remember you like drawing something on your wall, like you showed me a picture of it. It was like the cycle, and you're like, okay, so I'm here, and you were starting to look at what you were doing, particularly with your work, about, oh, well, I'm going to do this over here because that's going to use that productive energy. But over here, I'm going to give myself that rest and that break and that kind of more downtime. And I remember just being like, she's got it, she's off, she's gone. Woo!
Damn straight. And I mean, it sounds really easy sometimes, right, on paper, but when it comes down to it, it can be a little bit more challenging, and it's like it's a constant learning and progress, or process of progress. And but yeah, like 100%. I remember I was deep in a launch, and preparing for a launch at the time that I was first starting to learn about this stuff, and I was like, oh, why the hell not try and work with the moon, so that, when I'm right in the heart of my free 3-day challenge, when I really need to show up and give it my all, why don't I do that when I know that the moon is going to be full, and not only I am going to be buzzing with energy, but probably everyone that's on that call is going to be feeling like really extroverted and buzzing with energy. And, and then also thinking about the other side of when the moon is new, and when I'm in that, I guess, more dreamy, visioning, gratitude side to the moon cycle, why don't I let that be the time that I journal, and that I get really clear on what it is that I actually want for the next month. And, still to this day in my diary, like in my calendar, I've got like new moon visioning time, and I've got like I think it used to be 3 hours. And slowly but surely you can see my masculine efficiency side has slowly come in, and it's become 1.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still in there, and it's my time to actually, break from my day-to-day, break from the cycle of, the daily grind or whatever you want to call it, and to just stop, reflect, and actually ask the question, like, what do you want? What do you really want? What do you actually want? And it can sound like such a simple question, right? What do you want? What do you want? But often the answers are really hard. Like it does require having to stop, having to get out of your head and to connect with your body and your heart. And instead of answering that I know what I should do and I know what, success looks like, in society or the business world, or sometimes even the online world, like I think that's a really hard question for a lot of coaches, creatives, consultants, like online entrepreneurs these days, is just being constantly surrounded by what the rest of the world is doing and, what success looks like for other people, because we bloody hear about it all day long on Instagram or Facebook or podcasts or whatever. And, being able to stop the noise and disconnect from what everyone else is doing and instead connect to your truth and to your spark and to your inner essence and your inner fire, your inner flame. That's what my work really centers all around, is helping people connect to what their spark wants to do for them. Like what their inner flame and their inner fire and that inner radiance actually wants from them, and what that true expression of their soul wants to look like in the world. Because sometimes it can be really, really hard to detach from what everyone wants you to do and what you think you should do and what the world is telling you is cool or right or successful, and instead to connect to your truth of, what a really soulful and fulfilling and and meaningful life looks like for you. And I feel like it's that time in our cycle that we really have to take the time to ask that question for ourselves. Or at least that's how I do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it's the time. And I think that's the thing, right? I really want to have a conversation with you about the challenges that you mentioned at the start of that piece. And, is again, like when cycle awareness becomes like a rule, but doesn't necessarily work for you. And it's like, well, it's always coming back to what does work for you. It's not about, necessarily always lining things up perfectly when life like gets in the way. But as long as you do it at some point, as long as you've got that balance at some point of, the rest versus the productivity, the dreaming and visioning and planning and asking those questions, like, what am I actually working towards? Am I on the right path? What do I want? How do I want to feel and show up? And what does success look like and what matters? Rather than just consistently sitting down, smashing out the work and, when you like heads down so much doing the work, you lose perspective of where you're at and what it's all about. But like working with either that bleed time or that new moon time is when it's like when it's more effortless, like when it comes more easily. So I think that's a really cool point. But I want to jump back to what you said there about it was 3 hours and now you're down to 1.5 hours. I like that doesn't...
Is this going to be a coaching session?
No. No. That doesn't get to be wrong.
Yeah.
The point is, like, you are implementing this in real time, in real life.
Yeah. So
and
true.
I think that, it can be challenging sometimes, like I was just saying, to get some of this to work, to be able to connect in, You know, like today, for example, on my day 12, I didn't know what day of the cycle I was on because my energy is pulling me outwards. And I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm not paying attention.
I don't want to look at that.
Yeah. So I had to go back and check. And it's, you know, it's not about doing things perfectly. It's like you say, it's about coming back to making your own rules and finding your own way. I'd just love to ask you, is there anything that you, what have you learned about how you show up in your business and also home life from doing this? What have been the biggest changes that you've made, like practically?
Oh my gosh, so many. So I'll even give you an example of over the weekend, having like just moved through, I guess, the inner winter or menstruation. And I had quite a busy weekend of lots of socializing. And I feel like in the past, before I really like knew about my cycle and how it can impact me, and allowed myself, you know, permission to be whoever I needed to be in the different phases of my cycle, I would have been really hard on myself in the fact that I didn't show up to these different parties and social events in my most extroverted, full of energy, radiant self that most people probably do know me for. And I was okay with that. And that in itself is a really big thing for me, because I feel like I've always had an inner voice that's said, you know, you've got to be happy all the time. You've got to be extroverted and full of life and positivity and, you know, perfect and achieving and all of the things all the time. And, you know, realizing that with cycle awareness comes this, you know, recognition and permission to be the real you and to feel all the things that your cycle allows you to, and knowing that during that inner winter, you're just going to naturally feel a bit more introverted, and that's okay. And it still feels really good, and it still feels great and right. And so I guess, that's an example, like on the social side of how things have like really played out beautifully. But I guess like at a high level, it's been really, you know, about building awareness because what we have at home, we've got like a whiteboard calendar in the middle of our kitchen that like we can write each month as it comes along. So, you know, we've got June up and we'll write down our different social events. And so I'll go through my diary, I'll have a look what I've got within my like phone calendar. I'll look at all the different parties or the kid things or the work things that I've got on, and I go through every week and I write them all up. We write birthdays in there, and we just try and get it like all the shared stuff onto this calendar. And what I've been doing recently is writing in there where the new moon is and where the full moon is, and also where my period is and where ovulation is. And sometimes they flow together, sometimes they don't. But it's also a really good moment to have the conversation with my husband, because he started learning more about this stuff, because when you're married to a coach, you are stuck being like having to like learn all the things that I'm learning. And so I'm telling him all about the moon and how the moon's working and where I am in my cycle and how I'm feeling. And lucky he's just the most like peace-loving, like just chilled, non-judgmental person in the world. So he just goes with it all. And so I show him when we do our like monthly check-in with the calendar, and I say, okay, cool. So this is what our month's looking like. This is full moon. And I have even got him, it's not every single month, but occasionally I'll get him to set an intention during new moon. Like, okay, babe, what do you want to bring in this month? Like, what do you want to focus on? What do you want more of? You know, what's your intention for this particular month? And then I do a little bit of educating with him around, keep it pretty simple. Like, this is when you set an intention, this is when it comes about.
Love it.
That's about it. But it's a really good planning tool for me to recognize, like, okay, cool. That's when full moon is, that's when ovulation is. Do you know what? I'm going to book all my stuff in that week. I'm going to go do all the things. I'm going to allow myself to facilitate those masterminds. I'm going to allow myself to host that online workshop. I'm going to do all the BD meetings, the networking, the sales calls. And I'm going to give myself permission to, like, be in my full summer extroverted, radiant, big energy, and I'm going to love it. And, soak all of that in and just have lots of fun with it. And then on the other side of it, during the more winter introverted sides, if I see, and it depends on how regular my cycle is, so you can't always get it right or get it perfectly, but I will hesitate before I say yes to things during that winter phase. So if I get a meeting invite for that networking do or whatever, I'll see if I can postpone it a week, or if I don't have to go, or if I know that I've got to facilitate, like, a leadership development workshop with a bunch of business owners or whatever, and I know that will take a lot of energy from me, and particularly if there's one particular one that I facilitate, which is in the evening, and I'm not a very good evening person, so I have to be, like, really careful of that. That's something that I would really try and do my best to work with my energy and where it's at, rather than trying to force it. Or if it doesn't work out, I try not to book anything else on that day as much as I can. And I allow myself lots of nap time, lots of meditation time, lots of rest, lots of, like, being really easy. I probably won't go and do a really hectic spin class that morning. It's just kind of those sort of pieces of recognizing that my energy is probably not going to be where it usually is during those parts of the cycle. So that in itself has been amazing. And I think the other piece that I already mentioned was just, that self-kindness and that self-compassion that comes from, if you wake up in the morning and you feel a bit crap. So I've got this amazing app, which is called Stardust, which I've told you about. It is fantastic. I reckon I check it almost every day. So it brings together your menstrual and your moon cycle, and shows you where your hormones are at different parts in your cycle and what the moon's doing. And then it has, like, little, like, funny kind of, like, I don't know, humorous yet inspiring, like, little quotes that help you make meaning of where you are in your cycle and what that means for you and stuff. And anyway, I've got all my girlfriends onto it, and everyone in the different workplaces that I work with. And one of them is, like, one of the workplaces that I consult to and coach with is, like, they're quite conscious. They're quite, like, spiritually aware, like, really open, super into personal development. So they all just, like, soaked this app up. And the other night we went out for drinks, and after a few cocktails, everyone was like, "Oh, let's sync apps," because you can sync your apps together. So now we're all aware of where everyone is in their cycle.
That is so cool.
It's like one of those conversations that I can have with this particular workplace. And I'll be honest, not every workplace is there, but I think we're making a lot of leaps and bounds forward. In that, if there's a bunch of women within that workplace that are all, having their menstrual part to the cycle at the same time, I've noticed even a shift in them of recognizing that that's okay. And it might just mean that they don't want to show up to every single meeting that they get invited to. And sorry, that was my dog just making some, I think he's having a good dream or something like that. That they might not be their most extroverted, chatty self in meetings. And this workplace has, come a really long way in being able to have those conversations out loud with each other, and, to talk to each other about it, and to prepare the different people around them when they're about to have a meeting, to let them know, like, hey guys, I just want to let you know, I'm having a day and I'm at a stage in my cycle that I'm probably not going to be my most chatty, extroverted self today. I'm probably going to be a little bit more of a listener. I'm probably going to be doing a little bit more of, internal reflection. And, if you want decisions from me today, that's probably not going to happen. I'm probably going to need a day or two to think about it. So I guess, like, just having that real recognition for what different stages in your cycle means for you, and then being able to communicate that with people in a workplace or in a team that are understanding, because not everyone's going to be on exactly the same page, but the people that you love and trust and that get this stuff, like, it's such a great way to build connection. And, like, particularly if you can sync apps with each other, oh my gosh, just amazing. And then, like, on the other side of the coin is, like, when you're all ovulating together, gosh, maybe that is a time for magic to be created. Like, being able to, share ideas and, get shit done, and, like, really, like, move the needle point forward on projects, and, like, come together and, build lots of energy and momentum, and, laugh and dance and flow and play in that energy when you can. Gosh, if you've got a team doing that together, bloody magical and transformational, right?
Absolutely. You have just shared so much that I'm just spinning over. Like, I want to let you know, I got that app because you'd been talking about it so much. I downloaded it, and I love it. So I got this cool little quip.
Oh my God, we need to speak with each other.
I know, we totally should. The quip I got a couple of days ago was something like, you've got so much estrogen, you should bottle the rest and sell it on Craigslist or something. And today it says, hormones are like fine wine. They're best when gracefully balanced. Today is the Chateau Lafite Rothschild of body chemistry. Whatever that means, must be a fancy wine. Savor it.
Oh my
God. It's just funny. And it's like, 100%. I just love that kind of little nudge. But your, like, seeing where I line up with the moon has been cool, and it tells me which moon cycle I'm on. But then what you were talking there about syncing in a team, I think is just incredible. I hadn't made that connection. When I saw you could sync, I thought, cool, you could do that between a family or friendship group or whatever. But in a team, I just think that's so profound. And having a safe workplace where, like you said, it's comfortable, it's open, it's appreciated, it's respected, and it's being worked with. Like, this is not just like a pipe dream anymore. It's starting to happen. And I really love that you shared that with us, because, the examples you gave there about how, if people are kind of synced, like, what that's going to look like. And if they're not as well, like, that understanding of, like, oh, okay, I get it. It's cool. You don't need to, worry about how we're going to perceive your performance today. Like, we get where you're at, and you have your own strengths, and other things, you need a bit more understanding. More
understanding, more empathy, more compassion, rather than judgment. And I think that's the beauty of any of these sort of tools, and any greater awareness, is recognizing that, if someone shows up to a meeting and they're a bit quiet or a bit introverted, and they're not sharing all the ideas and doing all the things, and, really showing up to the party perhaps in their usual energy that they're known for, to instead, get curious and to really connect and understand it and build greater compassion for what might be going on for that person. They might just be in a season of really feeling like they want to go inwards. And, I think the tool the app should never be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to jump on there and check if someone's, on their period, and then be able to use that as ammunition. Like, oh yeah, I knew it. I knew why you were acting like that. Instead, coming at it from a place of, okay, I get it. You're probably feeling a lot today. You might be feeling all the feels. You're probably tired. You're probably feeling these sort of things, and to instead offer them the support that they might need instead.
Yeah, absolutely. There's beautiful examples. I had a train of thought and it's just gone. But that's where I'm at today. It will come back. It's I just think, that was what it was. I had this thought as you were talking about, how people, especially in corporate worlds and team and building, that efficiency, that collaboration, that real like performing team. Everyone's so into personality tests, psychological tests, all of those, whatever you call them, testing. It's like, this is like such a powerful equivalent, but it changes. It's not, this is what you are and that's fixed. It's, this is where I'm at today. It's just another way of coming at it. I think it should be presented in that kind of way. Like, you're really into understanding how everyone works together and how everyone fits in and what everyone's strengths are. And it's like, well, this is a real, like, in the moment example of how that changes and ebbs and flows. And I think there's just so much potential for bringing it into the workplace, talking about productivity and efficiency, but it's like, actually, sometimes you need to be really present and slow down to be able to speed up again later.
So interesting that you say that. So one of the services that I offer for some of my clients is doing personality profiling workshops. So one of the tools that I love the most, which you would know, is Enneagram. I'm so obsessed with it that I created my own version of it, which is like focused for like leaders and entrepreneurs and business owners, to figure out what their leadership style is, like how they show up as a business owner and leader, and like where their magic and unique gifts comes from. And so I lead this workshop with leaders and getting them to understand what motivates them and what drives them and what their strengths are, and really, really like plug deep into what's at their core. So rather than, I don't know, there's a lot of personality profiling tools out there which are very effective for specific purposes. Like, there's like Myers-Briggs, DISC, all of those sort of tools. But they're quite surface level, like quite behavioral focused, which is all well and good. But I often find that those sort of tools don't tell you anything new. Like, you kind of already know what you behave like. Like you already know how teamwork oriented or flexible or whatever you are. Whereas like the Enneagram is something that like goes really deep into why you are the way you are and why you want to do the things that you do, and like what is truly underlying your motivation for doing the things that you do. And like, it's all linked to childhood programming and conditioning and parenting and all of those sort of things. And it helps you recognize what your natural strengths are in life. So when you're at your most natural, powerful, authentic self, like allowing that natural, authentic part of you to shine through, because when you're acting from that place, you don't have to try. And you're naturally going to be your best, and you're naturally going to, shine through whatever is naturally part of you, rather than trying to feel like you have to be someone else or be the leader that you think that you should be, or, the business owner or whatever. So when I lead these workshops, I help leaders like plug in to that truth within them. And we do this exercise of understanding, because at the end of the day, we've still got parts of us, which is what you might put, say in inverted commas, best self versus shadow self, or sometimes when we're not in our most healthy state, when we're a bit stressed or when we're a bit stuck or overwhelmed or whatever. And so we just call that self the shadow self. So we get to understand, like, what does best self look like for you with that particular personality profile? And what does shadow self look like? And how do those different parts of you show up? Like, you know, if someone in the workplace was seeing you in best self, what would they be noticing? What would they be seeing? Are they seeing you really confident and in your power, and, you know, really full of self-belief and taking action and saying yes and positive, optimistic, whatever? And then also, like, it's worth getting clear on and bringing awareness to, like, what does your shadow self look like? Because it's going to come out, because you're a human being and every single one of us has these. But once we have awareness as to what that shadow self looks like, then we can catch it, or we can share with other people what our shadow self looks like so they can support us in those moments. And what I was just thinking is, how cool would it be if we integrated that shadow self versus best self process and went even a layer deeper into understanding, how does your personality change and evolve and shift through different stages of your cycle? So what do you look like when you are in your summer?
Yeah.
And you know, and really, like, working with your inner drivers and your inner motivators, like, how do they shine through when you're ovulating? And then what about those motivators when you are in your winter? Yeah. Because, you know, I can only speak from my personal experience, but so I'm a 7-3 in Enneagram and in this leadership styles quiz that I've created. And so the 7 is driven to enjoy life and be happy and do all the things and get really excited and just have lots of fun and freedom and play and all of the different things. So the 7s are very much known for probably not being able to commit or choose, because they love to do everything. So very, like, multi-passionate and, you know, just full of, I guess, a passion for life and having fun. And then the 3, so that's the 7. The 3 is like the real achiever. Likes to get shit done, feels like, you know, they need to always have a goal and be progressing and achieving, and just love the feeling of productivity and ticking things off their list. So that 7 and that 3, for me, when I'm ovulating or I'm in my summer, those 2 needs or those 2 drivers for me are really easily expressed. You know, I can go out and I can do all the things and I can have lots of fun and I can achieve. And so I feel like those inner drivers and needs within me are quite easily met. But when I'm in my winter, you know, that's where the challenge and the growth point for me comes around. Okay, how can I still work with who I am, but from a place of, you know, really, really feeling and being and slowing down? And, you know, what does that actually look like for me personally when I'm in that stage? And really, like, bringing awareness to that. I mean, that would be
fascinating.
I'm just thinking with one of the workplaces that I work with, I reckon that they would absolutely froth on that. Yeah. I'm not sure every workplace would be ready for it, but look, it's
the future. I think it's the future. Yeah.
100%. It'd be amazing to see.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, as you were saying that, I was like, I can see myself, I can definitely see for myself how I would change at different points in my cycle. You know, sometimes it's really strong and sometimes it's just not the priority, or it just looks different and I feel different, you know. And I think that, you know, for me, it's, I have this real moment in my premenstrual phase where, like, I feel really good and I feel really, you know, like, I feel really good, and then this wobble hits and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I just hit this point of mindset, just wobble and get kind of paralyzed and can't, I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know what to do. Like everything, it's like I just get sucked into a vortex for like a day or two, like a black hole of just like feeling paralyzed and can't see anything clearly. but then it shifts.
Yeah.
And then I feel really powerful. And that clarity is like, not just back, but it's like laser focused. And I feel so like, you know, and I think just having that awareness of, you know, how if I was in a workplace, I'd really want to be understanding that about myself.
Yeah.
You know, one for support myself and my own inner like feelings of, you know, how I feel like I'm belonging and performing and doing and confidence. And, you know, if you could share that and have support around that, just be incredible.
100%.
They'd be like, oh, she's here, you know, when you land in that more powerful bit, like she's here, let's go, like let's work with that. And I love the way that you've talked about those inner drivers on those real deeper levels with the Enneagram. I just think that's really cool. So
if I can just jump in there, because I feel like that's like a really, really important point worth mentioning is that, our minds, our bodies, our energy and our emotion changes at different parts in our cycle. And if we didn't have the awareness of what's going in within us and recognizing that actually there's a lot that's not within our control, it would bring so much more kindness and compassion to ourselves rather than like beating ourselves up for not having that clarity all the time. Knowing that there are going to be certain stages that you're going to feel fuzzy in the head and that's okay. And that's a time that actually you would know exactly what that time is. For me, I can know and speak to the fact that it's a time to release. It's a time to let go. It's a time to be. And if there are feelings that need to come out, to like really give myself full permission to feel those things. And if we don't have that awareness of the different parts of our cycle, I think it can lead to a lot of self-judgment and a lot of beating ourselves up for not being perfect all the time, rather than just recognizing that that's just a natural part of our lives and a natural part of our flow, and that it's all good and that it's all meant to be, and that actually the more that you lean into the letting go phase, the more that you can really like rise and shine and expand and flow during the more summer phases.
Completely. I agree with you so much. And for me, it's that point to just stop. And like you said, about letting go, for me, it's like coming back and walking away from the doing and settling into that change of gear and looking inwards, like stop looking outwards for clarity to just, you know, what's the next step, and just stop and just be. And check in with yourself, like, how are you? Like, what do you need? And usually it is a big release, and I might need a cry, and I might need a good early night, and I might need to dance or move or just shake it out, or a hug like never goes amiss at that time. You know, it's that. And the more I try to keep moving, the more I just fall over, and the longer that phase lasts. Like, I have to stop. It's like the brakes are being slammed on, and like, come back to yourself, come back in. So, you know, it's not only is it not a normal part of our life, I think it's a necessary part of our life. It's the brakes being slammed on because we need it. Otherwise we just keep riding in that high summer energy. Like, I couldn't sustain this forever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. And I think like something that's just popped up for me is remembering that it's not a 1-to-1 ratio with our energy at all times. It's like, while your energy might not be blossoming during your winter, of knowing that actually if you let yourself chill and be slow and be quiet and do your introvert thing, if that's what calls out to you, that actually if you give yourself permission to be in that space, knowing when ovulation comes, you're not just going to be performing at 100%. You're probably going to be performing at 150%. And so that it's actually okay to let the other time be a little bit more chilled, knowing you're going to make up for it later on, and it's actually going to make it so much more fun, rather than just feeling like you're always at this 1-to-1 ratio, which, I don't know, I feel like our working world and society and corporate condition can often tell us that in your 9 to 5, you need to just be good all the time. Like just be a regular, consistent 24/7, just consistent contributor, and not really recognizing the different flows that can come from us, and actually how much more magic can be created from that place.
Totally. Absolutely. And it really applies like in how I run my work, and it's me, and I get to be business owner as well as space holder. But I think when it's just us as well, like if we just shift back to that perspective of you and me running our own thing, and when there's nobody else around you and nobody else giving you that structure, like it gives you so much freedom, but it also gives you like no structure unless you create it for yourself. So and we need that. We do need that. Almost, the cycle is a structure. It's almost like the masculine, but like a feminized masculine or something. I don't know. It's sort of like this.
Yeah.
It gives us a way of trusting that we are on the right path. It gives us that energy to show up and grow and create and be out in the world. And then it gives us that chance to keep checking in, like, am I on the right path? You might not have anybody else in your business that you can, like a business partner or someone you can check in with. And it's like inbuilt feedback mechanism. Like, how am I doing? Am I in alignment with what I actually want this to be about and how I want to feel? And I just think that it's like, potentially everybody's best personal coach and business coach.
So true. So true. It's like a little guide and a support that you can always come back to and feel like you're not alone. That something has got your back and is guiding you and supporting you no matter what stage of life that you're at. It's like something you can always come back to, right?
Yeah. Beautiful. I think that's a perfect place to leave it.
So good.
Thank you, Emma. I have just I love this conversation so much because, I get to see how you have implemented it like in your own personal practice and then in your work and then sharing it with clients in this different world as well. And, you've got this experience of working with the moon cycle and now with the menstrual cycle as well. Yeah. And I just think that it's so powerful to hear real life experience of what it's looking like, implementing it in corporate teams as well. So thank you for what you're doing. I think, you're contributing in such a big way to change, like at the forefront where this is still like taboo. You're not preaching to the converted. You're like doing the converting in a way.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's like just all so beautiful. And I just want to say thank you so much to you for opening my eyes to this stuff. And, for me, I feel like it's been a real, reconnection to all parts of me, but particularly that feminine powerhouse side that is within, and like really owning and working with her rather than, I guess, against her or whinging about her or all of those sort of parts. So you are just like a living, breathing example of that beautiful, beautiful feminine flow and powerhouse of a woman. So thank you. And thank you for having me on. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks, lovely. Well, I'll pop all the links in the show notes so you can go and find Emma, find her, your Enneagram test. Is that, or quiz, is that available?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'll share the link with you, the What's Your Leadership Style quiz. So it's linked to your Enneagram, but it's like the leadership version of that. So it's really good for entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders of teams.
Fantastic. And Emma's podcast as well. I'll pop it in the show notes. Thank you so much, lovely. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you for having me. Mwah.
If you loved this conversation about really reclaiming your cycle and using cycle wisdom in all realms of who you are and what you do. So for your own personal practice and well-being and spiritual connection, in your parenting and relationships, and in your work, whether you have a business that you're running, whether you're leading in a team, or whether you are making a transition from one to the other. I would love you to come and explore my new group program called Cycles Sorcery. And this is about really doing things differently. So living, working, and leading in a real feminine, cyclical way that embraces all of who you are, all of the different strengths you have across your cycle, and supporting all of those vulnerable moments too, so that all of you gets to shine. And most importantly, you get to show up and live and work and do something that really lights you up, but in a way that really sustains you and celebrates you as a cyclical being, and allows you, gives you permission to have the time and space and freedom to tune into how you're feeling and what you need, and be really in alignment rather than just showing up and going just because that's the way you've always done things. Cycle Sorcery is a 4-month group online program. It's a mix of coaching and circles and sisterhood and learning through embodiment practices and cycle wisdom and rituals and understanding the archetypes and the deeper wisdom and medicine of each of the phases of the cycle, so that you are really connected to how you experience it, not just what the textbooks tell you that you should be feeling and doing at that time, and then really working in that cyclical way of creating, of working, of looking after yourself, so that you are reclaiming your right to be honored as a cyclical being. We begin in July, and I will leave the link in the show notes. I would love for you to come and check it out and join us. Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle, so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.